This is part 6 of the video series handling your car accident case without a lawyer and without going to court. And in this video, we're going to be talking about using your medical records and work employment records to help you negotiate your case, getting them, etc. Just to give you an overview, I'm going to be talking about getting the records, getting the bills, why it's important to get them, what happens when your bills are paid through health insurance, getting your employment records, and then giving the records to the insurance company. As a disclaimer, this is a general guide, not meant to be specific legal advice. By watching this video, you don't become a client. And I'm talking about California law. And in the year 2020, laws change by state and jurisdiction that you're in, and they change by year. So you want to double check all of this. Who am I? My name is Jonathan Howell. I'm an attorney in Los Angeles, and I've handled many injury cases, and I've made this video series to help people who may want to handle the case on their own. In order to get your records, there's a number of different ways you can do that. The main way is there's a law called HIPAA. HIPAA is the law. It was enacted federally, and then the states also enacted their versions or adopted it, and it allows you to get your medical records. Normally, you can just ask for it, but sometimes you need to submit a HIPAA request for your records. Most medical places, most medical providers they know about this law, and they know that if you go in asking for your medical records, that they have to provide it to you. High tech is another way to request the records, and it comes up more. It's a recent law, and it comes up more if you're requesting the records on your own versus like using an outside service or using an attorney, although there's some dispute about that. And it's just a way to ensure that they don't overcharge you and that you can get the records quickly in a digital format. Both of the HIPAA and high tech, you can just Google HIPAA authorization or HIPAA request or high tech request, and there's websites that have information and further information about how to request that. But I found that for the most part, medical providers know that they have to give you your records. And if you go and ask for it, they'll give it to you, especially larger medical providers like hospitals or major medical groups. Sometimes they have their own record department, and you can just go in there, ask for your records, ask for imaging. They'll give it to you on a CD. I like to get the records digitally, so that way there's no problem if the file gets lost. If they don't give you the records, you can make a complaint to the medical board in California. There's a California medical board, and you can file a complaint with them against the medical provider saying that they're not getting giving you your medical records. I recommend before you go that route, you request the records in person. If they still don't give it to you, request it in writing. If they still won't give it to you, request again and let them know that you're going to be contacting the medical board, because the medical board is going to want to see evidence that you tried to get the medical records and tried to handle it informally before you went to them. So don't go straight to the medical board. In terms of medical records, you are entitled to the entire medical chart. So that includes records, test results, bills, the doctor's notes, nurse notes, information, just general information they have about you in the file. So you're entitled to all of that. We'll talk more about it, but you don't necessarily have to give all that to the insurance company. And sometimes you want to redact personal information like your social security number or unrelated medical information. So if you have some unrelated medical condition, then you may want to redact that or limit that. Just as another side note is sometimes the insurance company will give you authorizations to sign, and I don't recommend that you sign those right off the bat. Maybe think about it before you do, because a lot of those authorizations are blanket authorizations, and they'll just get all your medical records unredacted. And what they'll do is they'll comb through that and use as much as they can against you. So I'd recommend against that. Same thing with medical bills. It's the same process, and you're entitled to all of those bills. You're also entitled to find out what insurance paid. which is important in California. You are entitled to recover the amount that insurance has paid. You're not entitled to recover the amount that was billed. And that was a case that came out a few years ago. EOBs, that's estimate of benefits. Insurance companies create these estimate of benefits. It's a form that they'll mail to you. It's not really evidence, but it can be helpful later to show, yes, in fact, the health insurance company paid for this amount. Again, you want to redact personal information from the bills, social security numbers, or maybe you don't want to give them your address or something. You may want to reduce or redact that, but you're going to definitely want to get all the bills because you want to submit that to the insurance company. They use the bills to evaluate the case. Employment records, you are in California entitled to your employment file. And again, if you want a sample format, just go to my website, howljustice.com, and send us a note, and we'll send you the one that we have. But it's a pretty straightforward. Most of the time, you can just go to the HR person in your office and say, hey, I need a copy of my file. If you have a small office, there's probably nothing in the file, right, other than paycheck stubs. Some offices have way more documentation, performance evaluations, things like that. If they won't give it to you, you can write a letter and you can cite the law. And again, I'm practicing in California, so there's California law that I cite that says that they have to give those records to you. And that typically does the job. If you're self-employed and you need evidence, typically what I look for are past history. So if you have a history of working and have a history, like an account where you deposit checks or you paid taxes or you paid yourself or something along those lines, or you have a business manager, an accountant, something like that. So we can show, yes, you were earning this amount pretty consistently for this long, and then now you're not earning anything, or you had a dip in income. And that's typically how we show it. You need to get these records because it's very important evidence in your case, along with everything else like photographs, police report, because the insurance company needs to review them and they need to use that in order to evaluate the case. And if you don't give them things, they won't consider it. So if you say, oh, I went to the emergency room, but you don't give them the emergency room or the emergency room and the emergency room bill, they're not going to consider it. So that's why it's important. And it's really not that hard to get those records. It is a little time consuming, but it's very, very important. And you want to make sure you've got everything, the ambulance, all the doctors that you saw. Be sure to redact unrelated info. Just be careful in redacting, because if you overdo it, they can argue that you're trying to hide information, and you don't want to do that. And most of the time, even unrelated medical conditions, they're probably going to find out if you file the lawsuit or not. And there's some argument that they're entitled to know some information about even unrelated medical conditions to confirm it is in fact unrelated. But nevertheless, you still have a right to redact things, and things like social security numbers or something related to a family member that's not even a part of the case makes sense. Just know that when you give records to the insurance company, they go through all of those records, all the bills, all the employment file with a fine-tooth comb. So if you have some bad performance evaluations, they're going to bring that up. If you went to physical therapist before the crash, complaining of the same things you're complaining about now, they're going to know about it. I don't recommend you hide anything, but just know that that's something that they're going to be doing with those records when they're evaluating it. But what's really important, like I said, is that those records help confirm that you were injured and help you negotiate and show that you're taking this very seriously, because you went and gotten all the records and you're organized and you have the bills and you're ready to negotiate with them. And that's how you get better result in negotiating with them. So that's that for using medical records and bills. If you want to get more free resources, go to howljustice.com. And there's another video in the series after this one.